One of the more spurious justifications for the mass immigration into and cultural revolution of countries like England and France is apparently because it's a legacy of empire. Now, there are many reasons why that's just a grift and it's created to guilt-trip the indigenous people there, but an easier way to debunk it is to ask the simple question, why then do countries like Sweden, Canada and Ireland get the same treatment? I mean, each of these never had an empire, and Ireland's case is even more stark. It was part of the British colonial empire itself. Yet Ireland is, like the other Western nations, having to go through the same humiliation rituals as well as enforced reworkings of their national mythology.
A lot of people in Ireland, they sort of call themselves natives, but really, there's very few people who are natives. In fact, if you look at the ancient history of Ireland, you will find out that the most native of people in Ireland was actually from Egypt, which is in Africa, and this is in the annals of the Gaelic people. So many people are migrants in Ireland. We all have migrated from somewhere. So Slán.
Now, how many times have you seen things like this in different European countries? This Americanization of our nations, the idea that we all came from somewhere, ergo mass immigration is good. Now, there are some inconclusive theories linking early Britons and Irish to the ancient Egyptians, but for the sake of argument, let's just say it's true. If there was a link between ancient Egyptians and Irish people, does that divest the modern Irish of their thousands of years of Celtic history in their own nation, as well as being duty-bound to have mass immigration forced on them from the Third World? We've had this line of argument in the UK as well, where some of us may have heritage stemming from groups who came here hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. That's supposed to mean we're exactly the same as somebody who got off the boat from Somalia yesterday. What's interesting about Ireland is the sheer pace of change. Only a couple of decades ago it was a traditional Catholic country, and now it's at the cutting edge of all of the latest woke ideologies. For instance, it has the issues of unconscious bias and inclusion in education now.
There's definitely still a lot of unconscious bias from primary school teachers, secondary school teachers, and even in higher education from lecturers. And I definitely will always believe that the diversity of the classroom should definitely reflect in the teaching force. Children should be able to see themselves and their teacher and have relatable experiences. And in order to do this, you need to better the treatment of your migrant/ethnic minority students in your classrooms. And again, this falls into anti-bias and anti-racism training.
I'm sure it does. They even have their own black liberation movement there now. How American and trendy. Here's one black Irish fella speaking about how he wanted to harm white people after a George Nkencho was shot in Dublin after assaulting a shop staff member and threatening others with a knife.
They need support more than ever, and they need the right resources that will open that up, because a lot of them are feeling lost. I've spoken to many who are telling me, man, I even walk out of my house and I just feel like I want to hurt a white person today.
Charming. Great to know the new arrivals are settling in so well. Now, there are plenty of examples I've found to show you how bad things are getting, but I can't really play them. One, because they're quite graphic, and two, because it's YouTube and it might take the video down. However, these are exactly the sorts of things that the mainstream media just won't show us. From what I can gather, though, the Irish had the same problem we do, in that if any normal person speaks about the issues that are going on, they'll be told exactly the same problems have always been there within the indigenous community. You're just evil and stupid and extremely racist, and you just want to justify your irrational hate because you're not as enlightened and kind-hearted as normal people are. But in Ireland, the liberalist programming doesn't seem to be working too well. It's probably because of stories like this. Christian teacher Enoch Burke has been sent back to prison in Ireland after he refused to use a student's preferred pronouns. Burke has already spent 442 days in jail for opposing transgender ideology. Now, of course, I'm not trying to imply here that every immigrant is bad. I'm sure there are some good people among them. But when you enforce mass immigration on a nation, ignore all of the problems, even though the people have very different values who are coming here, and call anybody who notices the problems evil and stupid, you're going to get some very serious problems. Now, if there was ever a party in Europe that was created to represent the national interest of of a people, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone more accurate than Sinn Féin. Yet after their screams of Ireland for the Irish only a few decades ago, they've turned into an open borders mass immigration party and are completely tanking in the popularity polls. It seems then that Ireland is getting the same globalist makeover that many other Western nations have received. There is a silver lining to all this though. I think the more European and Western nations see this, the more we start to see we have more in common and let go of our historical conflicts. We're all fighting the same battle together, so we may as well stand together. These are just my thoughts, however. Do let me know what you think down below and do consider subscribing to the channel.